A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archi's Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archi's, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archi's. Code your future. A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archi's Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archi's, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archi's. Code your future. A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. but the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archi's Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archi's, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archi's. Code your future.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hi, Tofi. Welcome.
Hello, AJ. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome here.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to welcome everyone joining the session from different parts of the world. And today we will be talking about tech jobs in the US. So I'm sure everyone has a dream of finding a job abroad or in the US. And we will talk about career plans. And today I have you as a guest because I personally know that you have a lot of experience in this field. Before we start, let me introduce myself first. I'm Ece Metin. I'm an English language teacher, and I'm a CELTA certified trainer at Archi's Academy. Okay, so Tofi, I know
That's
you personally, but can you please introduce yourself? What is your background? What is your education experience? And most importantly, how did you reach US?
okay. So, well, my name is Toffee again. If the people who are first time knowing me, that's my name. I was born and raised in India, um, in state Kerala, and I studied my engineering back in India itself in electronics and instrumentation. That means that I didn't have any kind of computer science background. I am not coming from a CS background, so it was a bit of difficult in the early days how exactly the programming and I was not. I was not a student who was not that much capable of doing programming back then. But I was good in mathematics. I was good in analytics, all those stuff. So I'm really good at that. And then I got in India, we have something known as campus placement. So that means that when you are in the school or when you are in the university itself, you get a job to work in big firms back at that point of time. There were only few big companies where they used to come to the universities and try to hire freshers. So I was able to get my job very early itself in that sense to secure a job very early. I really don't know why they hired me at that time because I never had any kind of coding experience. I'm gonna work in a software company, all right. So with that being said, that I mean, I knew that I'm a person. If even if I don't know something, I can go there and figure things out. That's my quality, which I know for sure. Like even if I don't know, like okay, that's fine. but I know how to find an answer. So that's my quality, and that helped me in several ways. Starting with like working in India, I just worked a couple of years in India. That's it, and then I got a chance to go to US, and I can get in detail probably along the way with from this company which I was working back then. Um, Probably because of my communication, probably because of how I deal with the people, probably because of how I deal with the customers. Those were the reasons. Might be I was identified uh, so that I can got this opportunity to go to the US. And then it's the rest is kind of history. But I can answer more how I reached what was the path I reached in further to the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, we will deep dive into that part.
Yep.
But first of all, I want to ask you this. How to get a legal job in US? Like, what are the different ways?
Okay. So this question is pretty much divided into multiple parts. So I have to be very specific. When you say how to get a legal job, I am assuming that you are a immigrant or a non-immigrant, meaning there is a visa status for that. If you're a citizen of a US, that's a completely different ballgame there. So if you're a citizen, you are in just like any other countries. You are bound to work whatever you want in US, and pretty much it is very straightforward. There is no much hustle to get a job, even if it is in the tech industry. So I will stick with tech today, the discussion, and other than going to other form of legally working. All right. um, if you are coming from other countries, for example, you are a known US person, you are a known US citizen, and if you plan to go to the US and you want to work in US, there are several ways to go there. The first and foremost way of going is there by getting employment based visa programs. There are there are three types of employment based visa programs if you are coming from certain countries. Like, this is a visa related question, so I have to be very careful what I mention here, because some countries, like for example Canada, they have their own program. Some countries like Mexico, they have their own programs. But if you are coming from, let's say you are from India or Turkey, if most people are from those areas, or any other African countries, let's say, the first way of getting is through a visa program known as H1B or L1B. Those are the two employment based visa programs you can get. The other one is that you can apply for getting a student visa, that is known as F1 visa, and you can go there and do your maybe undergrad or your MS, higher education. Once after you get an those degree, you probably will be able to option to work there, and then eventually get a visa which is an H1B, or usually at that point of time it's H1B. And this programs has its own benefits and disadvantages based on where you're coming from. But to start with, if you are a person who never been to US, for the first time you are going, then these are the programs you are getting. Like, you can get either H1B or L1A, L1B, those kind of visas, and then you can go to the US.
Okay, so we talked about visa types, but before that, I actually want to ask you to get a job in the US at the first place, do we need a specific degree, especially in technology or let's say software development, engineering? Do we need a diploma for that?
Okay, I think I probably might have, if you are coming from Archi's Academy, I might have already said that, or if you are coming from completely outside of our training program. So here's what you need to understand. Getting a job, you don't require a degree. Getting a job, you need skills. All right. So that's the first thing. Getting a job, you don't need a degree. You need skills to get the job and you want to work. But let's say you consider that you are coming from you are a citizen of, let's say, India, and you're gonna get a job in India. That means you are a national, you're a citizen of that country. If the company is saying that, hey, you are qualified for us, we don't require any formal education, diploma or anything, I can hire you. Let's say in Turkey, probably, I'm not really sure about Turkish, some of the laws I'm not really sure. But in the US, the first thing is that ask yourself, are you a green card holder or a citizen? If you are a green card holder or a citizen, you probably don't require a diploma. You don't really require a diploma, as long as you are really good in terms of programming. You can learn from various ways, by YouTube or other online platforms, and maybe like Archi's Academy itself. So you don't really necessarily you need to go to 4 years of your college and spend a lot of money and time to get a job. No, you don't need to, because student depth in the US is so high. So if you are a person from US, that's completely different. Now let's take into the consideration of a non-US citizen. During that period of time, do you require, and one more thing before I jump into it, that's probably the reason you might have heard people like Mark Zuckerberg, people like Steve Jobs are dropouts and they become entrepreneur, they become a software tech company, they become, because the reason is that they never created a company outside the US. They don't have any visa issues, they don't have anything to worry about. They can just start a company in a garage or in a dormitory. That's why they can start a company and they can be a software engineer or something like that without even a degree of getting that diploma in the hand. But if you are coming from, let's say, again, I'm going back to the example of, let's say, Nigeria or India or Turkey or any other country in this, I'm not really sure who all the audiences are coming from, which all countries. The number one thing is that it's the visa is for high skilled labor. The thing which I said earlier, H1B and L1A or L1B are for a highly skilled labor, meaning that the US government is giving this visa program in a limited quantity, such a way that they can't find employees in that country and they are trying to reach out to the other countries. So that means that the US government requires whoever coming in for that, they require to see, okay, is this person have a minimum 4 years of bachelor's or maybe even more master's or PhD or whatever. So are you skilled enough to do this job, which is put forward by the government? All right, so that's the first thing. And the government is asking the employers to make sure that to sponsor a visa. All right, so employers does not really have to make sure that whether you have a degree or not. That's not they as long as you are smart enough, as long as they're okay with it. But employers are forced by the government to say that, okay, if you want somebody to be hired from outside the US, then you need to have these criteria, and one of the criteria is getting a degree. So that's why it's important. If you want to go to the US, you definitely need a degree to get graduated, and only then you will get a visa. And I'm only talking about here H1Bs and L1A and L1B. To add to one more point to that is that there are other programs, for example, diversity visa program, which is kind of normal. You probably hear by green card lottery program, which is kind of normal to get people who are outside India or outside China, because that's every year the US government gives a lottery towards getting green card, to get a diversity within the states, because the United States is formed by the land of immigrants. Okay, so they want to bring as much as immigrants as possible, and so that they can provide this particular thing, and they are giving the green card in such a way that they can bring them. For that, you don't need to have any kind of, what do you call it, you don't need a degree. It can be just a person who can come and work whatever they want. So that's the different thing. All right.
Okay, that's pretty explanatory. But just to clarify it, I want to give an example. Okay, let's say that I don't have a degree in tech or any other related field, but let's say that I joined Archie's Academy. I get this software product building course. Let's say in 6 months, I gain my skills and I started looking for a job in the US. Okay, I applied, I got interviews, technical interviews, I passed all of them. So I can get employed and work remotely from Turkey or India without getting a visa, right?
Right. So that's a very good question, because this became a thing when the pandemic started. Okay, this has been already there for so many years. You probably might hear freelancing, right? Like, you have freelancing websites like Upworks or freelancer.com, etc. They were doing the exact same thing basically. They try to hire people outside the states, which they don't have to be legally brought into the states mainland. And so for those, here is the thing: you won't be an employee. That's the first and foremost thing to understand. You won't be an employee. What is an employee means? You need to understand that. You are getting benefits such as like your post retirement income, such as like medical insurance, such as holidays, and all those as an employee you might be getting based on the government imposed rules. You will not be getting it. All right, so those are known as employees. So for in order to become an employee, you probably need to be in the United States, so that you get something known as an SSN, social security number. All right, so that's one part. Now, if you are not qualified any of those, if a company, let's say I am Acme Incorporated, and I am trying to find somebody, let's say in India, and I want to have that person to be paid Indian bank account, I can hire that person remotely by a US company and work from India or Turkey. There is no problem. The only difference is that consultant or a contractor has to take care of their own income tax, their own medical insurance, their own all those stuff. It's their responsibility, and companies won't be won't worry about any of those. They get a payment, and it's their own responsibility to take care of themselves, like all these things. So there is no issues to work from the countries remotely. Even if you are a US company, there is nobody's restricting that. And maybe some countries, maybe US is restricting based on the government laws, because they might have any kind of embargo or some political situations might be there. So I'm saying that in most countries there won't be any issues to work remotely for that company, as long as you are in your home country. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, just out of my own curiosity, are there any people like from Archie's Academy who got remote jobs like this after getting training?
Several people. I don't want to name them up, but there are several people who have got the jobs, who got trained here and then was able to work remotely from different countries. Yes.
Yeah, because I know that it's like an international community,
Yeah.
and you are training online, so people can work like anywhere on the earth. I know that.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, you also mentioned green card as a diversity visa. Is
Right.
it possible to get it through employment?
Okay, so that's just a disclosure, because it's a YouTube. I probably need to make sure that I need to disclose it. I'm not an immigration lawyer by any trade. So I just want to make sure that you need to do your own research, like I'm telling about like a financial thing. This is purely my opinion or my experience. All right. So this is my experience based on what I have gone through. So please do your own research after I tell. This is based on completely my journey of my life gone through it. Obviously, yes. So we will be able to get something known as employment-based green card, which is filed by the companies. If, like, let's consider the case that you got the visa, to come to the US. You got either employment-based visa, you got it. That can be, and again, H-1B or L-1A or L-1B. There's a small differences between these two, which I can explain later. And you are working right now. You are a US person. I'm not saying that you are a US citizen. You are a US person, tax person who is paying taxes to the US government, and you are legally working there. The first scenario is that H-1B. In the first scenario, H-1Bs are actually for 6 years maximum. All right. So in that 6 years maximum, you can stay within the US. If you want to stay more, you need to have either you have filed something known as a green card. A green card is a permanent resident. All right. So employers would be employers would be sponsoring the employee, saying that, okay, I want you to be here in the US permanently. Hence, I am going to be filing your green card. And that one is done by something known as employment-based visa programs. It has several categories: EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, EB5. You can just check what all are the difference between that. But just to get quick summary is that EB1, EB2, and EB3 are the most common one. Employment-based 1, 2, and 3. Employment-based 1 is for the highly qualified, like a scientist or who's going to work in NASA, or people who are really brilliant persons. All those kind of people who get faster. They will get a faster process. They will probably get a visa within maybe, they will get the green card maybe within the span of 6 months or something. Employment-based 2 and 3 are primarily for the people who are technically working as a non-immigrant, as well as who have skilled worker, basically software engineers, managers, and other people. All right. So in those people, if you're going there, the time required, it depends upon where you born. All right. First and foremost, please listen to me that carefully, is not based on your citizenship. It's based on where you born. That's the first and foremost thing. Even if you are let's say, in general, Indians, Chinese are the most people who gets difficult to get these visas. Like, for example, green card. I know I have been there for several years. One of the most frustrating thing which I have been, whenever I am hanging out with my friends, mostly might be from Indian community, I would have to be like, we will get to a discussion about visa programs and green card programs in every house parties or whenever we are doing together. So it's like usually our topic that when we will get the green card. So if you are a person from India, the chances of getting a green card would be so low, or at least it will take a longer duration. But if you are from, when I say, I want to recorrect it, if you are a person who was born in India and you are a citizen of India, okay? But if you are a person who is born outside India and you might be an Indian citizen, it doesn't matter. You will be probably in the category of that country where you're born. That's a very tricky thing, which most people does not know, might be not knowing. In that case, if an employer is there and you are ready to be filing a green card, then you probably will be able to get the faster, maybe 6 months to 1 year, you would be able to get it. So it's a very tedious task, but at the end of the day, getting a green card is mostly like you can be free in terms of several things. It's mostly to the mind. Okay, I don't need to go back to my country after 6 years of being settled here. So that's why it's very much an important thing.
Yeah. Okay. I was actually going to ask you about visa types, but you kind of mentioned them.
I can. There are few things about that as well. There are numerous types of visas in the US. Okay, one is, like I said, if you are sticking with here about employment, H-1B, L-1B, and then TN visa for Canada, Mexico, and things like that. Those are there. The H-1B program is for every year during the month of April, I believe, it will start. During the month of April, it will start, meaning that there will be a total of 65,000 total visas will be available, right? Total 65,000 visas available for that calendar year. And then companies, especially mostly from Indian companies, will file that, okay, I have an employee which I want to take them to the US, and they will just file it. And it's mostly done by giant companies in India. Okay, most of them, like 90% of it is done by giant companies in India. If the total number of application in a set period of time is more than 65,000, then there will be a lottery process for that. That's happening ever since 2011 or 12, I assume. Just maybe give or take 1-2 years. Every year, there will be a lottery process. The reason behind that is because for 65,000 people's visas, there might be around 200,000 applicants. These companies are providing 200,000 applications. So you can do the math. 1 out of 3 people might be getting a visa. 1 out of 3 might be getting a visa. One more thing, the visa process itself is a tedious, okay? You might be selected to get the visa, first of all. I'm not telling that you will get the visa. You might be getting selected for the initial round of getting a visa. Then there will be other background checks. Then there will be other documentations. Then finally, you will go for a visa interview. Then the visa officer, which is from the embassy or what do you call it? The other one, I forgot the name. So if you, let's say the embassy, you will go there. A consulate. Okay, so I got it. So embassy or consulate, if you go there, the visa officer will be asking you several questions. Where are you going? Which company you're working? How long you have been working here? What's your background? Do you have money? And there are so many visa questions they will ask. And finally, they will say, okay, you are approved to go there or not. Until then, you don't have a visa, all right? So application, then we are getting accepted that you are one of 65,000, then all the documentation, then you probably get a visa. And the story does not end there. Even if you get a visa, you get to the flight, you landed in the US, you can get deported as well, because the reason is that if you have done some criminal or something, so you need to have appropriate documentation. Once after that, there is no issues. When you're there, you are living freely in the US, there is no issues. Second one is L1 visas. That is known as intercompany transfer visas, meaning that if you are already working for a US company and it has a subsidiary, let's say in Turkey or India or anywhere, and you are an employee of that country, for example, like I am hiring one of the engineer who legally works my subsidiary in Turkey. And if they are working for more than 1 year, I am telling that, okay, I need to transfer this employee to the US because I have an operations there, which I need this person to be there to do the operation in the US. So that does not have any limit, meaning that you can apply for it as long as the company is stable, company has enough revenue and all those stuff. You can transfer the employers intercompany transfer. That would be L1 visas, and that does not have any kind of limits. So you can just apply it as long as you have like enough revenue. So these are the two major. The last but not least is F1 visa, which is a student visa. Again, you probably need to write a GRE and all those stuff. You can apply for a MS, which is like the master's program of US. After you've completed your bachelor's, you do the MS program in the US. After that, you probably will get an option to get a visa from the US itself to work there. So that's what that program is about.
Okay, so one more question, then I will just close this visa part.
Okay.
And then we can maybe we can take questions at the quick Q&A part.
Sure.
Let's say that my husband found a job in the tech and I came along with him. what is my situation in that sense? Can I
Um,
work? What can I do?
Describing that again, I want to make it clear. Your husband has a work permit, meaning that you are a H1B holder. Again, I am just trying to very clarify that you are an H1B holder who is planned to come there, and your spouse, or it can be wife also. Okay, wife found a job. It's not just like husband has to work there. It can be anyone. If a wife get a job there in an H1B, and your spouse is going to be automatically going to get a visa known as H4 visa. Legally, H4 visas are not allowed to work there. So that's the thing. Like, you can't work there even if you are skilled. Legally, you cannot work there until you reach to a point on your green card process, and you are going to get H4 EAD, employment authorization. Generally, again, if you are accept people who are born in India, if you are coming from other countries, you probably will be able to work very fast, and you can work from that visa. You don't necessarily have to have a green card. You probably will get a employment authorization. You will get. But if you're coming from India, that process, or born in India, you probably have a longer process. That's what it is. But you can work. Your spouse can work as long as you get an employment authorization.
Okay, so you mentioned this long gap of not being able to work, especially for Indian wives. And I know that you are supporting women in tech, and moms also. And how do you do that in your academy?
Okay, so Archie's Academy was found with several problems across my personal life, which has been like, building a community, building a tech community where I can pass my knowledge, but it becomes bigger than what I thought. So the first and foremost is that being in the US, working there, the work culture and everything is completely different from other places which I have been. All right. So there are more focused on the event driven, data driven, and making sure that you can achieve your goals, etc. And for, if you're thinking about moms or the people who are taking career gaps or because of the reason of H4 EAD, we definitely have a program to return ship back to work, meaning that this people who, the spouses who might be a professional back in the day when they were working in their home country, at that point of time you might be, you know you might work for 1 or 2 years, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I would just say, you got an opportunity, your spouse got an opportunity to go to the US. You waited for 7 8 years without able to work, and guess what will happen? They will be outdated with your respective technologies. If that happens, how are you going to get a job if you want to come back? So we at Archie's provide in a way that we are not regular boot camp by any means. We are trying to think like you're going to work here as a person, like exactly how in a company how it's going to be. If you are thinking like, okay, how, it's not a language school where we're gonna teach you like, okay, this is what language exactly, then we will be training that. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you need to know how to build a software products. You gain experience so that you can show that as a volunteer experience to apply jobs in US, and if you're ready to go to work, that will help you to get a better chances of what do you call it, enough companies will come and say, okay, this person has experience. When they ask the questions in the interviews, you will be able to answer it very clearly because of you are gone through an experience of building a software product. So you can put in the resume, and normally what will happen is that these companies where they're going to get hired, they will send us a employment verifications back to us. And if the employee or the trainee which we are training has done good job, or they have been, we will give always the fair description of how they behaved, how they worked here, how they because at the end of the day, our voice matters for them. Because if I am referring somebody, of Archie's Academy is referring somebody saying that, oh, you are a good employee, and the employers finally found out, okay, this person is not good, it will come back to us, right? So we don't want to ruin our branding, so that we will be always giving the right feedback in terms of like employment verification, such a way that employers really good trainees from our academy.
Okay, I really appreciate that program. And also recently I've been seeing lots of success stories. If you're not following Archie's Academy social accounts, please do follow, because they are sharing all the success stories of women and especially moms with career gaps.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Tofi. I just want to change the subject a bit better. Okay.
Okay.
You mentioned about work culture in the US. Can you expand it a bit more? How is it? How is the work culture? How is tech culture? What
Like,
should we expect?
so it depends upon where you're going to work with, right? Like, are you going to work with a big enterprise companies or a big service based companies like banking or insurance or things like that? Then you probably need to adhere their rules, like for example the dressings and the work timings and everything has to be very strict. Well, the last 2 years don't count it, because it was pretty much everybody was like pandemic, oh, I can work from home and things like that. That's true, yeah, that's great. Like, I like that freedom of hybrid and things. But guess what will happen in a couple of years down the line? Most people will start going to the office, okay, or your employers will push you to go to back to the office. The reason why, they think from the employee's perspective, they have big office spaces, which probably might have, they invested a lot in the infrastructure, they invested a lot in terms of real estate. And if you think that, oh, okay, so if you don't want to go back and utilize this one, and then why am I putting this one there? So, like, recent tweet from Elon Musk was that, like, hey, you need to come to the office, otherwise you don't work here. So there are debates going on, which is good, which is bad. Okay, that is always, that balance would be there. But the work culture depends upon where you are at it. Especially, I was having an amazing work culture. My colleagues were amazing. My co-working space was amazing. Wherever I have worked, it was really nice people, and I enjoyed the most because of, you don't have to deal with a lot of politics, or, it depends where you work also. That's another thing. But most of especially my last 6-7 years, which I worked in the previous company, where before Archie's Academy, we mostly talk about, like, technology, like how to build an awesome product, how to build a distributed engineering product, or how can we make sure that the customers are not facing issues. So our chances of getting some kind of problems within the US when I was there was very limited. Always had an amazing, amazing colleagues. So it depends where you work. Startup culture is different. Silicon Valley culture is different. Boston culture is different. Chicago, Austin. So it's where you are from. It's completely different from place to place. But in general, you will be able to work with a lot of people from different countries. That's one thing which I love the most. That's what Archie's Academy I found out. Like, our trainees are coming from almost 30 plus countries. I was able to grasp that and bring it here as well. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We have so many countries within the academy. But if you are coming from let's say, Turkey, and you are only from a small state or a small province, the chances of you are working would be mostly 99% would be from Turkey, so that you won't have an intercultural, continental exposure. But where I was working, like, I was fortunate enough to have so many friends from different parts, like China, Mexico, India, like, so Turkey. You name it. When it's suddenly, when I think it's just not coming out, but I had people from everywhere. Yep.
And my last question, and then we can start Q&A session, I believe.
Okay.
What do you recommend for a non-citizen person who wants to get a job in the US, especially in tech field?
Okay. So, like for example, like if first and foremost is that if you ask me, don't try to dream what you want to go for the US jobs or not. That's up to you. All right. Dream is always good. If you want to go to not just US, there are other countries out there as well. Canada has bigger scene right now. Australia, we have it, and UK, we have it. So it doesn't really matter whether it's US or not. First and foremost, if you are a fresher, you're gonna start working, build experience. All right. So build experience with a good technology background behind it, good communication. I should stress the part that good communication skills is really, really, really important because otherwise you will not get hired. Even if you're getting hired, you get fired very quickly. That's the problem. So if you are able to get a good experience, then chances of getting a US job, it's all depends upon the previous factor. Previous factor, which is I asked for, like government visa program, and the other one is like basically green card, etc. So there are chances of going there and working, but at the same time, you just need to be building your own career wherever you are at it, and then finally be that person who is ready to if you get an opportunity, understand that's an opportunity and act on it. That's what it is. So yeah.
Sure. So building skills and not just tech skills, you mean soft skills
Soft
too,
skills,
like
absolutely,
communication.
absolutely, any day.
Okay. So I would like to get some questions if we have any. Okay. So it's the first one. Do you think going for Fang companies are worth it? I heard some horror stories from big companies being understaffed and making you work overtime. Oh, big one.
Okay, so Fang or Mang at this point of time, because Facebook turned to Meta, it's whether it's worth or not. Well, it depends upon the perspective, right? Like every coin has two sides. So how you see it, that's where you're gonna say. Um, it all drill down to the team which you're working at. Okay. And overtime, what is overtime? I work 16 hours a day probably, or maybe in an average 12 to 15 hours, let's say. I mean, I always think to how to work. Is that overtime? No, if somebody is trying to force you to work, that's a completely different. Okay, if you love to work, you will work, but mandatory obligation to work is 8 hours, or like in the US or most countries. Okay, but sometimes people do work Saturdays and Sundays, or even more if you think that you want to work. And these companies, for example, man companies, pay you really good, a really good amount of money. Okay, that's why it is, in order to get a job, those companies are really difficult because they pay you more, hence the standards are more too. So that's why their coding interviews are very difficult to crack in the first place. And if you heard about horror stories, yes, horror stories are happening pretty much in every companies, to be honest. Like, if you are a company, you are working in like banking companies or product-based companies, you might be having deadlines. If there are issues happen, you probably need to work overnight. I have done it in my past. I worked on Saturday nights when I was before Archie's, I'm saying. I have worked like midnight deployments, and whether that was bad or not, for me it's not really, because I enjoyed it and I have to do it. Was my responsibility to work that and make it finish. So it's up to the person to decide whether it is bad or not. And it is not about understaff is never happens on the fan companies. All right. They usually have enough resources. They have money, so they will just pour the money to get more people. So the understaff happens in usually growth companies or just gonna grow. That's what it is. I hope I answered
I
your, Olga. You can answer. You can ask more questions in your mentor session in Archie's Academy. You are a trainee, so you can ask me at that time. All right. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Tolga, for your question. And if we have any more questions, okay,
Okay.
another one. What is the possible ways to get a job either remotely or freelance as a fresher in the US? Also, what technologies are hot in the US job market?
Awesome
Great
question, Nikhil.
question. Yeah.
Amazing question, Nikhil. So, um, okay, so what are the possibilities ways of job either remotely or a freelance? All right. So US is kind of a place where if you're a tech person, you're pretty much open if you are very skilled and you probably can work. All right. And you need connections. Sometimes there are websites like Upwork, Freelancer, and all those other websites are there which can allow you to work as a freelancing. But if you want to have a freelancing is meaning that you can work remotely and you can work anywhere in the US. In the US, it would be different. All right. But on the other hand, if you are looking for a long-term career in terms of that, there are enough startup companies, product-based companies. If you have a right contacts, you probably, and if you are skilled enough, you will be able to get it. And you, at that point of time, you might be able to get it work for a longer period of time. And again, it depends upon like whether or not you have a connection or whether or not you have on the right place at the right time, etc. And then the technology wise, if you are thinking on what all are the technologies, there are usually front end technologies like Angular, React.js, Vue.js, all those. You just need to make sure that you know more than um, the basic fundamentals of HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You need to know more than that. So you either can become a front end engineer or a back end engineer by Node.js, Java, Spring Boot, Python, or any kind of languages with appropriate skills. All right, appropriate skills you have, and then you have a good resume. And then we have other things like blockchain, we have machine learning experts, we have. So there will be a job opportunities in the US, and it will be continuing like that. Focus on something which you can show as show that you are skilled in that. That's what you want. You have to have a good resume. If you have more questions like this, again, if you want to connect with me, you can obviously go to my LinkedIn, send me a request in the LinkedIn. I'll try to reply that. Or again, like we have Archie's Academies, our social networks are there. Please ask the question there, and we can respond to you as well. But very good question, Nikhil. Good one.
Yeah, and I also know that in Archie's Academy, we have like different career paths depending on what the person wants and what are their skills and
True.
what is the skill set that they want to get, right?
Right, absolutely. Like I said, we concentrate on the front end development, back end development. Think about how to build a software product engineering, and then we have front end development, back end development, QA. We have so many people get jobs in the QA, especially, and then project management. And if you are too good at it, towards the blockchain as a future. Okay. But you need to make sure that in order to reach the blockchain, you need to have a fundamental knowledge of the front end development and back end development, especially in the JavaScript land. So that's where the goes. But the sooner you get trained and become so good at it, you can continue there. Yep.
Okay, so let's get our last question because we are almost there.
Okay.
Okay, Santosh, is it possible to get an internship at foreign companies and do they support us financially? And what are
Okay.
your tips to get an internship?
Great question again, Santosh. Obviously, if you are going towards big ones, let's say Fortune 100 companies, the chances of getting internship, when you say foreign companies, that I assume that you are not from the US, you are working somewhere else, you are located somewhere else outside the US. Usually the internships programs are bound to the people who are located inside the US. All right. So there are internship programs within the US itself, and they provide, probably some companies provide like stipends and stuff like that. But chances of getting an intern being remote, especially in another country, it's a gamble from the chances of a US companies, because there are several factors to it. One is security. Other one is like whether or not you are a dependent person, whether or not you have a good internet, whether or not you have good power. So all those questions are like factored up, and most companies are not preferred you to have an intern outside the US. But that being said, that I'm not declining the fact that you are not going to get it. There are companies, and in Archie's also there were like some of the trainees who got internship from the US company, and they're working as intern and they're getting paid. Like we train them up, we give the contacts to them, and they are able to work as an interns, and success stories are there as well. Because the startups may have lesser criteria to get them hired, so they will try to look for not that of an experienced person. Sometimes those kind of happen, those kind of things happen. But first and foremost, if you ask for a tip, is that have a good mentor where you can actually get guidance, whether or not it's not Archie's Academy or some other or some person which it doesn't really matter. Find a person who might have already gone through this journey, which can help you without any kind of biased approach. That's the first things to up. That's what I am trying to do. That's what Archie's Academy is trying to do, making sure an unbiased approach of trying to make sure you are able to succeed. I'm a person, I would say it, you are making mistake. If you are not improving, at Archie's Academy, we provide that you are making, that's not the right way to do it. Because it's my obligation, it's our duty to say that you are not doing the right path where you should be. So we say that. But learn, get trained, and if you are too good at it, the success will follow you no matter what.
Okay, thank you, Tofi. It was a really good talk. I'm not seeing any more questions here. But just before we close, I want to ask you, how do you do this training? I mean, when is the training starting in Archie's? When is the next batch? How can we reach out to you to get a training?
For sure, it's pretty much straightforward. We have batches every week nowadays. Earlier it used to be every month, but we have more and more people now started joining. So we have pretty much every week we have new batches joining. Meaning that if you get a contact us from social media, visit us, our website, there is a skill test tab is there. You can complete the skill test, reach out with our LinkedIn profile or email us. There are n number of ways to reach us. If you reach out to us, we make necessary requirements, and once after that, if you have a good laptop, good internet, that criteria is there, and based on your background, we suggest you some training path as well. And after that, on every Friday, we have an onboarding meeting which shows our extended team members, trainers, and plans, workshop sessions, everything we will be explaining on that. After that, on the subsequent Monday, we will start the training. And our training, the first phase is for 6 months. That means that you get 6 months of experience, which you can show it in your resume. And most people get jobs based on that. And the employees, like I said, employers send us a employee verification saying that, okay, this person have 6 months of experience, which shown you. Are you sure that this person did work? Did this person did a good job there? Did person all of it, basically all the verification, they send us the form and we fill our thing and send them back. If they are good, they are good. Otherwise, we'll share our opinion because it matters. And then what we try to do is that, if you want to build more experience, sometimes what happens is that 6 months isn't enough. You might need to have a 9 months experience, maybe 1 year experience. So finally, you can say that you are not a fresher, you are a 1 year experienced person who's going to find a job. Then you can continue the training. Basically, every 3 months, you can just continue the training. That's what it is.
Thanks, Sophie. By the way, we have some links and forms in the chat, I believe, and we have an upcoming event It's a mentorship session with a manager in Red Hat, which is a big company in the US. I'm sure Tofi knows more about it. Can you mention that? It's the last point.
For sure. So we have an event which is upcoming on the 13th of next month, which is from like the event is happening online, similar like this, and the person which I know her personally, as well as like I worked with her. Her name is Heather. She is a manager and she usually go for systems and other areas, and she's an awesome person. And she will be joining us, helping to spread the word of how she becomes become a manager. And she's a super mom. That means she has two beautiful kids, and she lives in Colorado. And basically, she's gonna share her experience and mentor the people. She will be our mentor as well for the people who can get connected, ask questions, etc. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the end of it. Tofi, thanks again for joining, and thanks for the participants' questions. It was an interactive session.
Thank you.
Don't miss it. Everyone,
you.
don't miss the session.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions how to be participating that one, again, our team is always there in the social. You can always reach out to us, LinkedIn, email, our websites, or all of those, and then you will be able to ask that questions there. And if you want to connect with me, you can connect me on my LinkedIn, and as well as then you can go from there. All right.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Ajay, for hosting this. Really appreciate it. And all the best, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.